Yes.
The Scrolls of War.
My favorite part of any book. Because it has the most rules, and I like rules.
Mitchell hates 10th edition 40k.
The clickbait title. So we're going to go over some stuff that we found interesting, or...
We will not exhaustively read every single war scroll.
As much as I would like to, Josh told me I can't.
I have work tomorrow.
I don't. Josh just gets up in the middle of the video, and I just keep going.
Lights shut off.
Keeper of Secrets, the mainstay. It's a fantastic combat piece. It has mortal wounds on its signature spell. It got a little bit better because some of the stuff that used to be random is now guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it's healing, and it gets some depravity points with its combat phase thing. It's good. It does both of this and Shalaxi do mortal wounds on hit rolls of a 6. No. It is wound rolls of a 6, not hit rolls of a 6, which is slightly worse, but it's fine. Fantastic unit. Probably a little overcosted, but I still think it's great. And you can summon them.
It's costed for summoning.
Yep, but you can summon them, so it's fine.
That's why it's costed like that.
Shalaxi, on the other hand, I think got much better. So she used to only have 3 melee attacks.
Right.
Which was bad.
Especially in Slaanesh.
In Slaanesh. So the reason for that is Slaanesh had a 6 rolls of a 6 to hit explode.
Mm-hmm. And
if you have 20 or more models, they double explode. So it was like, oh, you have 3 attacks. So if you roll a 6, then she has 4 attacks. No, it's bad. But now all of her attacks she only has 4 attacks. So still not great. But she has the ability to hit on 2s with her spell. Add 1 to save rolls for enemy heroes that attack her. So she is a 3-up with, if you give her the shield, a 4-up. A 5-up ward. So pretty durable. And she has a attack that is Rend 3, damage D3 plus 3, and Rend 2, damage 5 at top bracket. She has the same ability that if you roll a wound roll of a 6, you just deal that much mortal wounds. And the other thing was against heroes. All attacks, if you're against an enemy hero in combat, all attacks must target a single hero. But if you do, the damage is, instead of D3 plus 3, flat 6.
Yeah.
So she is a hero hunter. I like her a lot better now, which is good because I have one of these.
Yeah. That's always nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I like her a lot better. I'll probably be experimenting to see which one I like more. The fact that you can customize the keeper is probably still going to come out ahead, but I like Shalaxi. Shalaxi used to actually be cheaper than a Keeper of Secrets. GW knew she was worse, but it's fine. Sinessa and Dexessa, I actually don't know much about these two. I don't own them. They were very good. They were in a lot of high tier lists, like competitive lists would take one or the other. They seem to have been brought down a little bit, more in line with where they should be, but I don't know much about them, so we're not going to talk about them. Syll'Esske, meh. I like the model, but the rules aren't too great.
So Syll'Esske is the
he's the demon prince with the dancer
yes.
on the horns that are coming out of him. So I basically, his damage got better because he has 8 attacks that used to be damage 1, now they're damage 2. Always good. But he has a buff that adds 1 to hit and wound rolls for friendly Hedonites models within 18 inches of him, as long as you have the same number of mortals and demons within 6 inches of him, or within 18 inches of him.
Which is interesting.
So you have to like balance out, and if you don't, he doesn't have the buff. So he's kind of pointed for that to always be on.
Right.
And if it's not on, he's kind of too expensive.
Yeah.
Contorted Epitome. Yes, reroll casting rolls, and it is a level 2 wizard. So it casts 2 spells, rerolling those casting.
So that's your good wizard. That's the wizard you want to take.
That's the good
It's
wizard.
also got 12-inch movement.
Yeah, 12-inch movement.
So it's a wizard with double casting and rerolls that gets where it wants to go.
Yep.
That's probably your prime caster. If you rely at all on casting, that's the one you take.
It also ignores mortal wounds on a ward of a 2-up. So if you're afraid about taking, psychic, whatever it's called in Age of Sigmar.
Perils of the Warp.
Perils of the Warp.
Oh, it's not called that, but I'm just...
Perils of the Warp, but in Age of Sigmar. You just ignore them on a 2-up. It's fine. Yeah, that one's really good. I wanted to check while I was here. It is not mounted, so it is hidden by the current.
And it's not named.
It's not named and it's not mounted, so it can be hidden. And
And
God,
it's
what
got
is it
7
called?
wounds.
Galatian
Champions.
Champion. Fantastic, love it.
That's very good. So now all that stuff we complained about previously, about all the getting within 12 and
Mhm.
like being safe, you can do that with them very easily.
True.
And be protected, at least in this current GHB.
Who knows? In 3 months, that could be gone. Enrapturess, still not a huge fan of this. It's really good in 40k, but not great in Sigmar. It debuffs opponents' wizards, and that's about it. The Masque is really cool. I read this one when we were in the car at Adepticon, and I had to reread it like 3 times. So it has 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1, 2 damage. At the start,
Stormcast profile.
yeah, at the start of your hero phase, you can choose to either add 3 attacks to it or heal 3 wounds on it. It can run and charge with a movement of 10. Run and charge with a movement of 10. After deployment, but before the first round begins, you can remove the unit from the battlefield, set it up again anywhere in your opponent's territory more than 3 inches from enemy models. And it has a ward of a 4-up. So it is a fire and forget missile.
Yeah, it's going to appear in your army. God help you screening against this thing. It's
Yep.
be very irritating.
It's going to have 9 attacks.
And it's probably going to kill something.
Yep.
Now, 9 attacks, 1 AP, 2 damage is not the best in the world.
Yeah, it's not going to kill Archaon or something.
No, like anything with a really good save is going to laugh that off.
But you get to put it wherever you want.
Any kind of archer unit, anything that doesn't want to get murderized
Yep.
by a blender is going to get murderized by a blender.
Yep. And the next turn, if she somehow survives, she heals up 3, can run and charge something else.
Yeah, exactly. You have to deal with this.
Yeah. She's very good, and I'm gonna have to pick one up because I don't have one of those yet.
Really force your opponent to deploy in a certain way.
Yeah.
The mind games with this are wonderful. I like it.
Again, the Slaanesh controlly is very cool with this one.
I control you or I kill you.
So there are 3 different chariots. There's the Seeker, the Hellflayer, and the Exalted Seeker. There is a hero version and a non-hero version.
Mhm.
All of the hero versions buff the same non-hero version.
They all generally have 2 more wounds.
Yeah. 2 more wounds.
12-inch move,
Yeah,
4-up save, 10 bravery.
The Exalted Chariot is a little bit slower. It is move 10 instead of move 12.
But it also has 10 wounds instead of 8.
Yeah, it's
10
it
and
is,
8 instead of 8 and 6.
10 and 9.
Oh, okay. So 10 and 9.
So interesting that they just all have different wounds for some reason.
Weird.
This one's still 2 below, but anyway.
Okay.
Bladebringer is the smallest chariot. It adds 1 to mortal wounds caused by mutilating Blade's ability, which is after the unit finishes the charge move, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 on a 2-up. They suffer D3 mortal wounds. 3 mortal wounds on the charge. It's what you want to do.
Charge
anyway.
mortals. It's a
Yep.
chariot.
Charge mortals. So adding 1 to, and it does count itself. So adding 1 to that D3 mortal wounds sounds good. They all also have the spell Acquiescence. Charge value of 5, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit within range. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks that target that unit until your next hero phase.
That's a good kind of wound buff because it's picking an enemy unit, which is always better than picking a friendly unit. So everybody, it's kill that one target, not buff that one unit.
Right. That was changed from the last one because it used to be +1 to hit, and now +1 to hits everywhere. So +1 to wound, fantastic change. And all of the chariots have that. The Bladebringer on Hellflayer is Soul Scent. This is probably my favorite one. Roll a dice when you get into combat on a 4-up, suffer D3 mortal wounds. In addition, for each 4-up, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons. This unit's melee weapons until the end of the phase. If the enemy unit has 10 or more models, it goes off on a 3-up instead. And then the buff that it gives is add 1 to the roll that determines the Soul Scent ability for whether their Soul Scent ability causes mortal wounds. So it's on a 3-up for the hero, and then 3-up also for the chariots that are near it. Getting an extra attack on 3 separate profiles,
Very good.
that's fantastic. And some of them are multiple damage. Lastly is the biggest chariot, the Exalted Chariot. It can issue the same command 2 times in the same phase. If it does so, each command must be given to a friendly Exalted Chariot. No command points are spent the second time.
It likes to move in packs.
Yep, they like to move. All of them like to move in packs, and
They do move in herds. Yeah.
and the command kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The having
I don't know what you're trying to say. Sorry.
Fair. If I had a word for it, I would say it. Being efficient.
Oh, okay. Command efficiency.
Command efficiency is very nice. We talked about that in the
Yes.
talked about the sub factions. That one you can get in any sub faction. I like that. And then for each roll that is greater. Okay, so these guys want to charge high save characteristics. So when they charge a unit, you roll dice equal to the charge roll, which is again something that you're doing a lot in this book.
And you can buff.
And you can buff. For each roll that is greater than the enemy unit's save characteristic, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So good against good saves. It's impressive. Go into something that's 2-ups, deal like 4 mortal wounds, 5 mortal wounds. And add 1 to the damage characteristic of their flaying. Roll a dice for each time this unit receives a command from a exalted chariot. So this one actually also gets a buff from this one. None of the other ones do that. On a 4-up, add 1 to the damage characteristic of the flensing whips. So they now have a damage 3 weapon. It's pretty good. So yeah, I like all of these. The only one that this one's probably a little too expensive for me, but they're all very good.
Which one?
The exalted chariot, because I think it went up to like 260 points for the character one. Viceleader is foot hero. They've been doing this a lot. It has this unit and a friendly unit nearby can fight at the same time. It only works on demonettes. A demonette host, which I think does not include seekers. No. Seekers are demonettes. Well, they were demonettes. They're not anymore, but they're not a demonette host. Now we can talk about the new icon bearer, which is basically if you have an icon, you get to rally on a 5-up instead of a 6.
So they're still playing in that space.
Yes, which is cool because I like the exploring of what they can do with different things. So again, when you issue...
I generally do too. I wish they would stop exploring Rally.
Yeah, Rally can be a little long. 5-up is fine. 4-up is please stop.
Yeah.
Fiends got a little bit better. Also a little bit more expensive. Yeah, they do that. How'd you know?
Because I played them.
Movement 12, also great. They
4 wounds each, 5-up save,
Yep.
10 bravery.
10 bravery. Oh yeah, we're not using the overhead camera. They each have 4 attacks. 1 is D3 damage. Sorry, 3 of them are D3 damage, and 1 is variable depending on your opponent's wound characteristic. If it is 1, their damage is 1. If it's 2 to 3, it's D3, and if it's 4 or more, it's D6. So you want to go into big stuff. Mm-hmm. Also leading into that, you subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls that target this unit.
Period.
End of story.
Yep.
All
phases.
Yep. And that one can be very good, especially with the stacking buff that's an extra -1, so it counters your opponent's all-out attack.
Yeah, the cumulative -2, you put a 5-up ward on that. That is your deceptively tough unit.
Yeah.
Probably not still going to be an anvil.
No.
There's no anvils in Slaanesh. They don't exist.
No, I don't think there is.
They like being hit too much. But that's going to be as good as you're going to get, I think, in this book. Except maybe Shellac or
Shalaxi.
Except maybe for Shack, yeah.
Shack. The Seekers are basically demonettes on a mount. They have the same banners and all that stuff.
1 more wound.
1 more wound, but half the guys. So
and 14-inch movement.
14-inch movement, and they were previously the fastest unit in Age of Sigmar. They're 14-inch movement. They roll 2d6 instead of 1d6 when making a run. They can run and charge in the same turn. So they are moving. Oh my God, so far. They're moving 14 plus 3d6 for a charge.
Yeah, they get it where they want to get.
Yeah.
They're not going to do a ton when they get there.
No, again, they're demonettes. They're fine. And they have a weird thing that if they kill any models with a wounds characteristic of 2 or less, they get +1 attack for the rest of the battle. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say once per game, so I think that stacks. So you could do it a few times, but they have to kill stuff.
They want to hunt down Chaff.
Yeah, they want to hunt down Chaff, which is probably what they're going to get doing anyway.
Yeah.
They're shock troops.
Yeah, and not particularly effective ones at that.
No. They're fine. They're also pretty cheap. Glutos has about 4 paragraphs of text. let's say that he got more expensive, but he's still really good.
Yep.
And move on.
He's still really good. Still buffs basically all your mortals.
Yep.
That's what he's about. He buffs mortals and debuffs enemies a little bit.
Yep.
Mostly about buffing your mortals. He's very good. Not an auto include anymore, I think, but still really good. He still saw a lot of play.
Yeah, he did.
Lord of Hubris.
Yeah,
Can I do this one?
You may. This is the new model.
So I hate this model. 6-inch move, 5-up save, 5 wounds, 7 bravery.
Yep.
Because he's immortal. He's only got his exquisite scimitar, which is the Stormcast profile. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. You first, I insist. So confident is this champion. Blah, blah, blah. This unit has a ward of 4-up, always.
Yep.
So that's something they didn't tell us until we got the book. So you do always have a ward of 4-up.
Which is good.
At the end of the charge phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and say that the Lord of Hubris will give them the chance to strike first. If you do so, the strike first effect applies to that enemy unit to the following combat phase, but all that unit's attacks must target this unit. So your opponent doesn't get a choice with this.
It's a taunt.
Yeah, and it's a taunt that does not give them a choice.
That's
not like the excess or the temptation dice.
Yeah,
which is important. And then only the best will suffice. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick one Painbringer or Twinsouls unit. Your 2 defensive and offensive. Your elite infantry.
Yeah.
Wholly within 12 of any friendly units with this ability, so this model, because you're not taking more than 1.
No.
If you do so, until the end of that phase, so at the start of the combat phase, for the combat phase, each time a model in that unit is slain, it can fight immediately.
Sure.
And is removed from fight. So fight on death.
Which is better on the Twinsouls because they're fightier. They're killier.
This guy's really cheap. This guy is
120?
Checks notes 120 points. No, 135 points.
135.
For 135 points, he exists to taunt 1 enemy unit off of something you don't want to get punched.
Yep.
So that it wastes all of its attacks on him because all attacks have to target him. So it can't spread attacks around.
Yep.
Which can be very good. In turn, he is going to die because a 5-up save and a 4-up ward is not going to save your butt.
No, not against something that he wants to go into.
Not when you're not wearing pants. Because I'm presuming he's wearing the same chaps as Sigvald.
Yeah.
But in turn, you're going to lose him. He's going to die, and then whatever you really wanted to fight is going to get to fight.
He is a meat shield for the thing that you don't want to die.
As an example, you charge your, I don't know, your Keeper of Secrets, your buffed up Keeper of Secrets, and you charge him. You charge a Sons of Behemoth model. You charge a giant, a gatebreaker.
It has fight first.
And you go, what's up? And then you get completely squished. But your the gatebreaker had to put every single attack into this little guy.
Yep. So he had to overkill that thing 3 times.
Yep.
And then your keeper gets to fight.
And does not take any damage.
Yep.
You know, works on. And the nice thing is there's no roll. There's no spell.
Yep.
It works on everybody. I feel 135 points is a little bit. But then
I think it's a little bit too much.
But then again, 135 point buffer on a Keeper of Secrets is not much.
Or Sigvald.
Yeah. Sigvald's got his own tricks for not getting murderized.
That's true.
Which we'll get to.
Because he also has fight first.
So yeah, this is the new model that came out with this book. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
It's better than we thought it was when we talked about it first.
Yeah, where they're like, he's going to taunt some guy.
The 4-up ward means that even with 5 wounds, he's not going to die to incidental damage.
Yeah, he's not going to die before he gets there, unless you're against like KO or something.
Yeah, well, anybody with any kind of decent shooting can pretty easily remove. I mean, a 4-up ward is effectively...
Stop bending my book.
Sorry. A 4-up ward is effectively half again wounds.
Yeah.
So he's effectively got 8 wounds.
Yeah. Not terribly high.
He's died. He's dead. Speaking of Sigvald, Sigvald only has 6 wounds.
He does.
But Sigvald has a 3-up save. And Sigvald has Shard Slash. Attacks see below. You know you're in for a good time when you see that. Hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage. One of your better rends in this book. Glorious Reborn. Strike first effect applies to this unit if it made a charge move in the same turn.
Strike first, awesome.
Powered by Vainglory, add 3 to charge rolls for this unit. The attack's characteristic of Shard Slash is either 5 or the unmodified charge roll for this unit in the same turn. So you can't mess with that using any kind of your sub-faction abilities.
Right.
But you could still end up getting 12 attacks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go below 5.
Yeah, 5 is the minimum. And he gets +3 to charging, so he's gonna make it.
He also has a 4-up ward. Sorry, I read the world that was, because he has the mirror shield and it's an artifact of the world that was. He has a 4-up ward against everything. And he ignores your wards.
Yeah, that part's real good.
Yeah, that's so. He's real good. He is. How many points is old Siggy? Mick Sigerson. Sigvald is 205 points.
205?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I was expecting a little bit more.
I think for that price, I like Sigvald a lot.
Yeah, me too. He was one of the best foot heroes in the game.
I think he still is going to be kind of near the top of this army.
Yeah. In in fitting with the book and fitting with Sigvald, he's very selfish.
Yes.
He does nothing for anyone else.
He buffs no one.
He murders stuff and attempts very hard not to die, and then he murders more stuff.
And with a 4-up ward and strike first, he's going to do a real good job of not dying.
Yeah, I agree.
4-up ward and a 3-up save.
His only real downside is he's a character, so he can be shot at.
And he does only have 6-inch move.
So I really like him. I took him in my last game, and he completely wrecked stuff against Nurgle. And then he died, which is fine. But with the new stuff, I'm very excited.
He is designed to kill Nurgle.
Yeah.
It's a nice,
No
disgusting resilience you have there.
Yeah.
Shame something happened to it. Lord of the Pain was the unit who came out with the last box before this.
Yeah, so there's almost all of the mortals are new with the previous book.
Yes.
The Lord of Pain is the generic I buff mortals guy. He has a 4-up ward as well, which is not bad. Each time a wound
Stormcast attack profile.
Yep.
But with 2-inch range.
Nice. He reflects mortal wounds on a save roll. In addition, each time the wound or mortal wound is caused by an attack made with a melee weapon. Melee weapon is negated by his ward save. It's reflected back. Okay, sure. And then he adds 1/2 hit and wound rolls for mortals within 12 inches of him that are contesting an objective.
Yes.
So that's the interesting part.
He likes to play on objectives.
He likes to play on objectives. It's not bad. I do have one. I don't have any of the mortals really that he buffs, unfortunately, and it's only in melee. No, it's not only in melee. So I can use him with the archers, which we're about to talk about.
There's the Shard Speaker, which I don't think I particularly care about.
It's fine.
He's got a lot of rules.
Yep. He has a bad profile, and then if he casts a spell, he has a better profile. And his spell is subtract 1 from the attacks characteristic of that unit's melee weapons. There's a lot of -2 attacks. Like, I feel like this guy's probably not really worth it unless he's really cheap.
Yep. Blissbarb Archers, on the other hand,
are very good.
Are pretty cheap and absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
They've got 2 attacks, or is it 3?
It's 2.
2 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Not bad for a ranged profile for 18 inches.
Yep, and a 10-man unit, so they're firing 20 shots.
But it's, well, technically it's 11-man unit.
So Masque doesn't have a bow.
Yeah, but it's 20 shots, but 18-inch range, and they can run and shoot.
Yeah. So it's basically more than 18 inches, because it's 24 plus D6.
Also, as long as your 11th guy is alive, you have a +1 to wound. So effectively, 3s and 3s.
Yeah. 3s and 3s -1 damage is pretty legitimate.
By itself, that's pretty good.
And their battle line.
Yes. When you combine that with, I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit.
Yep.
To the person you combine that with, which is the Blissbarb Seekers, who are the archer unit on the Seekers. They have the same profile, but 3 attacks.
3 attacks instead of 2, because they have less guys.
12-inch range instead of 18-inch.
Oh, yeah, it is less range. But they're speed 14.
Speed 14. They can still run and shoot.
Yeah.
With 14 inches. So that's a 20-inch plus...
26 plus D6.
Yeah. They have, if you get any wounds through, subtract 1 for a save roll against that unit with anyone else.
Yep.
So these guys shoot first. They're your vanguard. They go forward, which they can do with their huge movement. They've got 3 attacks each, so even though there's only 5 of them in the unit, you're getting 15 shots. They don't have the +1 to wound, so you're going to be wounding less.
Yeah.
So you don't want a lot of these guys. But you combine that with the Blissbarb Archers, and suddenly that's effectively Rend 2 shooting, which is really good.
Yeah. And then you can combine that with the Lord of Pain to get +1 to hit at the very least. Even if your other guy is dead, +1 to wound. That's a...
Suddenly 2 attacks, 2s and 3s, 2 Rend, 1 damage.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
You know, it's not ranged mortals.
It's not ranged mortals.
I mean, they are ranged mortals, but...
Ow. That hurt me.
Now, speaking of mortals,
Mm.
we have our Myrmidish Painbringers and our Symbarish Twinsouls. The Painbringers are the defensive unit.
Yep.
The Twinsouls are the offensive unit. They're your elite infantry.
Mhm.
3 attacks for the Painbringers. 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 3 damage? 1 damage.
1 damage. You're looking at the profile.
No, I can't see it.
Oh, 1 damage.
Because of lighting. And the Twinsouls are 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage.
Mm-hmm. The Painbringers have a 3-up save and add +1 to their save rolls if they're wholly within enemy territory or wholly within 12 inches of an objective. So they have a 2-up armor save.
Yes.
If they're in the spot that they want to be.
Meanwhile,
that's pretty good.
The Twinsouls have subtract 1 from attack's characteristic of melee weapons used by enemy units within 3 inches, again, and also a ward of 5-up if you're within 3 inches.
Yep. And they have extra damage. They have -1 to wound, but +1 damage.
And -1 attack.
That's true.
Compared to the Painbringers.
Yeah.
So they both have their use. I don't love either of them. I think there are things that do better because they also only have 6-inch movement.
True. They're not terribly fast.
Speaking of, we have the Hellstriders. We have multiple different kinds of Hellstriders. We've got the normal Hellstriders and we've got the whippy Hellstriders. They're fast. They hunt chaff.
Yep. The Clawspear ones are weird because they have an ability that gives you +1 damage if you start the combat phase in melee.
Which is something that Slaanesh normally doesn't want to do.
Sorry, start the charge phase in melee. So they want to already be in melee at the start of the charge phase.
Right.
Which is weird.
Yeah, which is something Slaanesh doesn't usually want to do.
Yep. And then these guys are, this is the important ability on the whippy ones. Enemy models with a wounds characteristic of 1 or 2 cannot contest objectives while they're within 3 inches of friendly models with this ability.
Yeah.
They just like, you thought you were on this point? No. I'm on this point. Those, I think, are a fantastic control piece.
And then you have to kill off this 2 wound 4-up save model.
Yep.
Which is not nothing for chaff units.
Yeah, and then they also have the rally on a 5-up. So they want to get to an objective and go, this one's mine, please stop.
You have to dedicate firepower to getting rid of them.
Yep.
You can't just throw them off.
Yep.
The Blissbarb Seekers we already talked about. The Slickblades are kind of the same thing, except they can run and charge. And anything they attack that has wounds characteristic of 3 or less, they get +1 attack.
Yep.
So they really want to hunt chaff.
Yeah, little stuff.
But 3 wounds can also be, Stormcast Paladins are 3 wounds.
Yeah. So it's they don't want to hunt monsters.
And they do have Rend 2 on their glaive.
Ooh, which is pretty good.
3s and 3s.
And 3 attacks means they'll have 4 if they're charging their determined target, and their mount has 2 more attacks. 6 attacks apiece is damn good.
Yeah. Slaangors did get better, but they're still not good.
No.
Sorry. They're cheaper though. They're still just really squishy for what they are.
Yeah.
And they don't do that much damage.
They have the thing that they got in Beast of Chaos, which is fight twice. The last fight has to be fight last. And they just don't do enough.
No.
They have a thing where if you damage them and they're not allocated this unit, and the unit is more than 9 inches from enemy units, they move D6.
Yes.
So they can, like, if they get shot, they can move D6.
Yeah, you get shot, you'll remove the 1 model because you're not going to survive.
Right.
And then you'll move D6 and you'll charge with 2 remaining models and you'll die.
Yeah. They're not good.
No, they're not. Dread Pageant is an Underworld unit. They're fine.
Yeah, they're okay.
And then we get to the spells. Spells. You got the Wheels of Excruciation, the Mesmerizing Mirror, the Dreadful Visage, and the Fane of Slaanesh.
Which is the terrain piece.
Which is the terrain piece. These aren't bad.
No, they're the Mesmerizing Mirror is the most interesting one control-wise, because it has the ability of if a unit starts a normal move within 12 inches of this spell, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds unless it finishes that move closer to this endless spell than the start of the move. The only real bad part is it is not a predatory spell.
No, but what's the casting range?
Casting range is 18.
So this is very possible. Remember, you have very fast
wizards
who can be character protected. You want to cast this behind your opponent.
Yeah.
And force them to go. You want to cast this away from objectives. You want to cast this behind your opponent. You want to cast this next to a purple sun. I don't know.
At the end of the movement phase, roll 6 dice for each unit within 6 inches of this endless spell. For each 6, that unit's commanding player must choose whether the unit gazes into the mirror or resists temptation. If they resist temptation, they take D3 mortal wounds. If they gaze into the mirror, the player who summoned this unit gets D3 depravity points. That is for each unit within 6 at the end of the movement phase.
Yep.
So,
or your opponent has decided to move towards it.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. So you're right. You want to put it behind them. I'm seeing you put it behind them. They take D3 mortal wounds and then they get out of 12, and then you just unsummon it and try it again.
Yeah.
I could see that being good on the epitome.
Again, it's more annoying choices.
Yeah. So that one's fine. The Wheels of Excruciation is just mortal wounds.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's mortal wounds against low save units. So
yeah, less than the unmodified wounds, unmodified save characteristic. Yeah, it's
so
more mortal wounds against stuff with low saves. You're gonna kill all that stuff anyway.
Which is usually the stuff you'd care the least about putting mortals on.
Yeah.
So.
And then Dreadful Visage is Endless Spell has moved because it's predatory. Roll a d6 for the closest unit within 6. For each 4-up, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, if any mortal wounds caused were allocated to that unit, the Strike Last effect applies to that unit at the end of until the end of the following combat phase. That I think is pretty good.
It's okay, but it's not worth the points in my list.
That's fair.
Mesmerizing Mirror is.
Nah, that's true.
Now you get the Fane for free. So what does the Fane do?
Yeah, because the only other thing this does is it reduces your opponent's bravery by 1, increases your bravery by 1.
Horgast is better if you're going for that.
Nah, that's true. The Fane, it has the thing it did last time, which is when you're summoning a demon, you can summon within 12 inches of this instead of a hero. So it's just an extra place to summon if, for example, all your heroes are dead or surrounded. And the other thing it does is you can choose to make a sacrifice. You pick a hero within 6 inches of it, and it suffers 1 mortal wound, and you roll a dice. On a 2-up, you get +1 to wound rolls for attacks made by that hero until your next hero phase. If that hero has an artifact, instead of suffering a mortal wound, they can sacrifice their artifact to get +1 to wound for the rest of the battle.
I mean, most of the time, if you're bringing an artifact, it's because it's good enough that you don't want to do that.
That's true. Alternatively, you could take one that's situational and get rid of it.
Use it and then lose it.
It's an option. There was one that was in the previous book that was something like pop it once per game, you get D3 summoning points. And it's like, sure, whatever, just pop it at the beginning of turn 1, sacrifice it, you have +1 to win for the rest of the game. It is situational. I don't like that you have to put this in your deployment zone and then the first buff only affects it for 1 turn.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to, because it is in your hero phase. So you use it, then they move. They're pretty far distance, depending on what they are, like a keeper or something. And then they can charge. And then on your opponent's turn, they get like 2 turns. I just don't like that it can't move and it's in your deployment zone. So it's like very limited on what you can use it on.
I don't love that, but that's terrain for you.
Yeah, it's free.
Well, it's free points-wise. It ain't free money-wise,
That's true. And that is the end.
And that is the end of our Slaanesh review.
Yeah.
Because for our full thoughts and overall view, check out the first video, because it's where we kind of talked about it. If you watch these videos, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Let us know below if you're excited about Slaanesh, if you play Slaanesh. Overall power level of this book, as we talked about in our first video, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I think we need to have more games to see this pan out.
Yeah, by more you mean at least one, because I have not played it yet.
Oh, I meant the community.
Oh, I thought you meant me. Me
you
and
too.
you.
You too. Imagine me and you and me. We're playing Age of Sigmar.
Oh, I can't even imagine us playing Age of Sigmar. It's been so long.
So happy together.